Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it and I hope that this video finds you well. So I know a lot of people are anticipating this release. This is a brand new fragrance by the company Valentino, and this is of course a flanker to Born in Roma, which came out in previous years, and of course the original came out at least 5 years ago, but this one is the most recent flanker and this one is called Born in Roma Yellow Dream. So make sure to stay tuned. Before I begin my fragrance review of Born in Roma Yellow Dream by Valentino, or Valentino Uomo Born in Roma Yellow Dream, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of this type of fragrance related content, if you like reviews or top 10s, giveaways, unboxings, anything having to do with fragrances, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. I'm trying to reach 150,000 subscribers, so I would really appreciate it if you could help me reach that milestone. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner, and of course while you're at it, please be sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell. So here is a fragrance that came out just this year in 2021. Of course, I own the original Valentino Uomo, and I also have the Intense version. I love the Noir Absolute version. So there are a lot of fantastic flankers from this company, and it has that sweet vanilla hazelnut vibe in the original that I absolutely love, with a little bit of iris as well, because iris was really the star player in there, and people sought the original as an alternative and a sweeter version to Dior which was the original iris fragrance, at least on the men's side. But here we have Born in Roma Yellow Dream, and we know that when Born in Roma came out, there was a lot of talk about it, there was a lot of chatter. Some people loved it, some people were not as crazy about it. I personally never purchased it because I found it to be a little bit too similar to Invictus Aqua by Paco Rabanne, but I did purchase this one on the 7th of the month. I actually bought this from Nordstrom along with Gucci Guilty Love Edition MMXXI, which I've also reviewed. I'm going to leave a link to that up here. I actually bought them both on the same day, but in any case, today we're going to be talking about this brand new fragrance by Valentino. Let's start things off with the presentation. So the presentation for this one is pretty cool. You kind of have like this lime yellow or this bright yellow coloration here on the front with the name of the fragrance and the company. You have this studded look on the box. It's not actually studded, it's a little bit textured, but it is a really nice finish, so I quite like the presentation. Your batch code is printed on the bottom, and it's a little bit hard to read, but your ingredients are listed on the back. And the bottle for this one is also very nice, looks very similar to previous iterations, with the exception that this one does not have a built-in atomizer, but it has a cap instead. This is a pretty heavy bottle, and although the cap clicks into place securely, I wouldn't pick this one up from the cap just because it is so heavy. And the distribution on the atomizer is very wide. Let's continue with the smell. So in the opening of this fragrance, you have this spicy sweetness that is coming from a fruity accord, and I quite enjoy it. I'm going to be honest with you. So it opens up with this pineapple vibe in the opening, but it doesn't smell like a hyper-realistic pineapple. So if you're familiar with some other pineapple-based fragrances, wink wink, this is not what you're going to get here. It has this fruitiness, but it's a little bit from the pineapple, a little bit from the orange, a little bit from some assorted citrus, and then you're also going to get this ginger note that adds the perfect spicy yet fresh quality to the fragrance. Now, according to Fragrantica, there are also spices listed in the note breakdown. You also have gingerbread as a note, which I find to be quite interesting. And when you think of gingerbread, what do you put in it, right? Do you put cinnamon in it? Do you put nutmeg? Do you put allspice or a variety of other spices? And so I was kind of looking at it from that angle because I know it's a fantasy note or accord. And do I pick up on a little bit of cinnamon? Yeah, perhaps. You know, there is a bit of coumarin in here, kind of giving it that cinnamony tonka bean vibe, and so I'm guessing that that's sort of contributing to the gingerbread accord, if you will. And as it starts to dry down, there's Vanilla Absolute listed in the base, and I get a lot of vanilla. I do. I don't think the vanilla is stronger than that gingerbread, or I'm going to call it the tonka bean / coumarin accord. I don't think the vanilla is stronger, and I certainly don't get a lot of woods from this one. I remember the first day that I bought this one, and I took it out of the box shortly after it's been delivered, and I sprayed it on clothing, and it immediately reminded me of another fragrance or another style or DNA of fragrances, if you will. And so for the layman, especially if you have experience with a lot of other designer fragrances, I think it might be easier to say that this fragrance is in the vein of 1 Million Privé by Paco Rabanne. It's in the vein of Azzaro's Wanted by Night. It's in the vein of Spice Bomb Night Vision Eau de Parfum. And so if you're familiar with those types of fragrances, that dark sweetness, as I like to call it, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what this fragrance smells like. And I like that there's still a little bit of that Invictus Aqua thing going on in here with that smooth, fresh tonka bean, but this one certainly goes in a darker direction. And so is this the most unique fragrance on the market? No, right? It is going to remind you of other fragrances that are currently on the market, but does this follow a model or fit within a mold of fragrances that I personally enjoy? Yes, it does. And I personally love Wanted by Night by Azzaro, and I bought that Spice Bomb flanker that I mentioned earlier, the Night Vision Eau de Parfum. And so this is definitely a fragrance I will also continue to wear. And I can kind of see how this is like a fruitier and slightly brighter version of those other fragrances, thus taking away a little bit of that darkness. So it's not as dark or as spicy as an Azzaro Wanted by Night, but it still has the spices, it has the sweetness, it has the fruits, it has the freshness, it has the ginger, it has a lot of really likable elements. And so I'm happy that I own this one. I'm happy that I purchased this one, and I'm going to be wearing it a lot in the months to come. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, I hate to say it, it's not the most unique fragrance on the market. It is going to smell familiar to you, especially if you've smelled a lot of those other fragrances that I just mentioned, especially the Invictus fragrances and some of the heavier 1 Million fragrances and Azzaro Wanted by Night. It is going to fall within that classification, if you will, but the overall smell is very pleasant. I think if compliments are your thing, you're probably going to be better off with the original Born in Roma and not Yellow Dream, but I personally prefer this one. It's a little bit more complex, it's darker, it's spicier, it has more of an edge to it, which I really appreciate. Longevity was also great. I got 7 hours on my skin, which falls within the average realm for this concentration. In terms of the projection, great for the first hour and a half to 2 hours. It didn't start to sit closer to the skin until about that 5.5 to 6 hour mark. The versatility on this one is also pretty good. I don't think it's as versatile as the original Born in Roma. This one I would wear in the colder weather. I probably just wouldn't wear it in the dead of summer. In the dead of summer, I would probably wear the original Uomo or the Born in Roma, the original. But I do find this one to be a little bit more masculine than feminine, just because it is reminiscent of other masculine designer fragrances on the market. I can see this one working for somebody who's a little bit younger, as well as somebody who's a little bit older, more sophisticated, and more set in their ways. And I personally find this to be a formal and casual fragrance. So it is a pretty versatile fragrance in that regard. In terms of the presentation, I just don't see where yellow comes into play, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, perhaps a little bit from the pineapple and maybe the citrus and maybe like a lemony opening or something like that. But aside from that, I smell like a dark orange whenever I smell this one from a synesthetic standpoint. But nevertheless, the presentation is pretty cool. I always appreciated these bottles with the studs. My final verdict on this fragrance is, if you are a fan of some of those darker designer fragrances that also have an underlying sweet vibe, definitely check this one out, especially if you're a fan of spices like cinnamon, nutmeg. If you like fruity fragrances like, you know, with notes of pineapple or mandarin, I think you might really enjoy this one. But just keep in mind, it is a strong deviation from all of the other Valentino Uomo fragrances on the market. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me today and this evening, whenever you happen to be watching this video. That was my fragrance review of Valentino Uomo Born in Roma Yellow Dream. If you own or have tried this fragrance or the original or any of the flankers for that matter, please let me know what you think. Also, let me know what is your favorite. Give us some market research, right? Leave a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe. Help me reach that 150,000 subscriber mark. I would really appreciate it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. And of course, while you're at it, make sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell. Thanks again for watching. I love you guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye.